Hi there. I'm the CRM Ninja, and on today's episode of the Oops Factor, I have Laura Graham Brown. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Good to be here.
It's an absolute pleasure to have you on. I've sat through quite a few presentations that you've done in various places, and I thought you're great at speaking. Let's get you on to share.
Good to be here. Looking forward to it.
Wonderful. Really, really glad to hear. So I have two questions for you before we get into things. And one of them relates to a hobby, and one of them relates to your blog. So for your hobby, which is Lego, hence the Lego in the background, what is your largest or most favorite piece of Lego that you've put together, and why did you choose it?
Probably the Hogwarts stuff.
Okay.
Because of the detail they've put into it. Although every Hogwarts set we've bought gives you another Harry Potter. So I think I have about 12 of them now. And I love all the little details. So that they use a whole set of pieces to make a bird, the phoenix.
Okay.
It's just out of bits that just don't look like a phoenix. But when you put them all together, it does. So that's quite cool.
So a bit like Transformers.
Yeah, but it's kind of just take bits of Lego that you didn't think were part of a phoenix, and at the end of it, it looks like a phoenix.
Okay. How large is the phoenix?
Oh, it's Diddy.
Okay.
But no, so there's a tower, and there's the Great Hall, and those parts. So I haven't done many huge ones.
Okay.
But I do seem to have a lot of Lego, and it's all catalogued.
Catalogued.
Oh, sorted.
Do you have a power app?
Not yet, but working on it. It's how I'm learning CDS, or data flex, whatever it's called now.
You should, yeah, well, we're not going to talk about renames of stuff.
No, not today.
No, not today, not today. But you could use the AI builder to take a picture of Lego, and then it identifies the number of pieces of each type.
The AI, ages ago, I did an AI builder that could tell you the difference between a 2-block and a 4-block. Not exciting.
But it was about a 2-block, 3-block, 4-block, 6-block, or 8-block.
Yeah, I didn't do count. It didn't go that far. I just did. Well, this is a 2. This is a 1x2, and this is a 2x2. Got
it. Lego does seem to be a common theme amongst the community. Okay, Hogwarts, brilliant. My second question is, your blog is called A Hat Full of Data. And when I first came across it after watching one of your presentations, when you referenced it there in the title page, the first thing that came to my mind at that point was the question, are you a fan of Terry Pratchett?
Yes. Huge fan of Terry Pratchett. I have lots and lots of Terry Pratchett books.
Because Terry Pratchett, for those who don't know, he's an author. Well, was an author. He's dead now for a few years, but he wrote a very famous, massive series around a fictitious magical world, similar to Earth, called the Discworld. But he has a book called A Hat Full of Sky.
Yes.
So that is why
he does have a hat full of sky.
He does.
And which is part of what it came from. And when I was small, I was told I had a hat full of brains. So awesome. I thought you can't call a blog a hat full of brains. And then Terry Pratchett's Hat Full of Sky, I'm very fond of. So therefore, Hat Full of Data sounded right.
It's great. It's a great name. It's an awesome blog. People, if you haven't checked it out, go take a look. Laura talks about some really cool things there, which is really great to see. And of course, when you're reading it through, it doesn't crash any Azure regions. But we're not going to mention crashing Azure regions tonight, I believe.
No.
I still remember the first time you spoke about it, and you went, hopefully you won't crash the Azure region. And I'm thinking, what do you have to do to crash an Azure region? It was quite amusing.
I do seem to have the ability. I do have the ability to crash various systems across the world by just doing a demo.
Okay, so people, if you're looking to test out how stable your system is, perhaps ask Laura to come to a demo near you.
That's the one. Happy to crash any system.
Make a lot of money from it. So, what do you have to share to us tonight for the Oops Factor? What's your oops factor?
My oops factor. Okay. So it's kind of a two-part story.
Okay.
So I have children, okay? And you have kids, so you kind of come up with some ideas of what children should do and what children shouldn't do. And we had a very simple rule in the house. Didn't last long, but it was there at the beginning. You asked to get down from the table. Very simple.
Yes.
My youngest, Kim, is sat at the table at about 2.5.
Okay.
And they want to get down from the table. And no. You've got to ask. Nope. You've got to ask. Nope. 2.5 hours later.
What?
We finally have to let them down from the table because it's gone past bedtime and they've fallen asleep. So
Hold on.
My husband and I looked at each other going,
2.5
boy.
hours.
2.5 hours.
And here I thought that my son was stubborn and obstinate in his own little world. He's never gone for 2.5 hours like that. Oof.
Yep. And we looked and thought, oh my goodness. So then probably a couple of months later, big sister is at a pretty good local school. They're a bit strict about uniform. And so the morning that we can't find the school shoes, can't find them anywhere.
Okay.
I lose the plot and get angry and shout and do the unreasonable mother. And
just to point out here, I have now 3 kids, or young ones, and I know what it can be like to handle them. And it's not being a bad parent, just sometimes it just goes way above your head with everything going on.
Oh yeah.
So, for those who aren't parents, you have no idea how you can possibly even start to comprehend this.
You have no idea how a silly little thing, just like losing shoes, how that can blow that out of proportion.
Yeah.
So I put on trainers, take her to school. Now she goes to the school where they wear little sailor dresses. It's very cute, and obviously trainers don't quite go.
Do they also have the hats?
The teacher looks. Oh yeah, they wore hats. Yeah, straw boaters, the whole works.
Awesome.
Yeah. I haven't got any photos. I think I'd get in real trouble.
That's fine.
But so I deliver her to school, and thankfully her teacher, her year 1 teacher, said, "Don't worry, Mrs. Graham Brown. Just go home, have a cup of tea. It'll be fine. It's just a pair of shoes." So okay, fine. So I go home. And as we walk in the door, little Kim takes off their shoes, picks them up, and I'm in a house that has very few rules. My story finishes with what the household rules are in a minute.
Okay.
But takes off their shoes, picks them up, and starts walking upstairs. I'm kind of thinking, wait a minute, where are you going with those shoes? So I follow, and Kim opens the airing cupboard door. And there is a box on the floor, opens the box, takes out their sister's school shoes and puts their shoes in and shuts the box. So I do the instant reaction of, "Oh, why didn't you tell me? That's where your sister's shoes were." And they replied, "You didn't ask." Oh boy.
How old were they at this point?
This is the same child for 2.5 hours. Okay.
How old were they at this point?
Night, my husband and I sat down and went, "We're going to have to parent differently. This is kind of we're either going to have a really strict house, and neither of us can cope with that, or we're just going to give up." So if you ask my children now, who, by the way, are now off at university, I'm incredibly proud of them, studying, doing really well. Yeah. If you ask them, what are the rules of our house? We have 5 rules. Okay. The first rule is no singing at the table. My children are musical. We would still be having lunch from back in 2005. So no singing at the table.
That's wonderful.
No hairbrushes in the kitchen, because that's That's kind of sensible.
Yes.
Don't wake your mother because she's grumpy. When I first wake up, I am the grumpiest person in the world. Okay?
Okay.
So those 3 rules are kind of how to live. That's it. We then have 2 more rules. The first is no blank rows or columns in Excel data.
Hold on. That's a house rule. No blank rows in Excel data.
Yeah. And the last rule
that's
is
awesome.
no merging cells in Excel.
Okay. I have to ask this. The first 3 rules, I can understand. I mean, we have our own rules here, and we tweak them over time as we need to. But how the heck did you come up with those last 2 rules, and what were they based on?
Our children have kind of learnt, and that if you need to solve a problem, it's bound to involve an Excel spreadsheet. That's how our family works. It always has. So if we're going on holiday, there's a spreadsheet, the packing list. If we're doing anything, there's a spreadsheet. If I go shopping, I have open in my phone Excel because it's got my shopping list. So yes, I know there should be an app.
Can I just point out here, not that I get any money for it, but there's something called Microsoft To Do. Syncs across devices. It's great. My wife uses it for shopping. In fact, I didn't know about To Do until my wife told me about it.
Spreadsheets work quite well.
Yeah. Okay.
So we kind of, by having children, had enough spirit to push back, and us being incredibly lazy parents in some ways. My learning from losing my plot with my kids was there are times for rules, and you know what? In the family home, when nobody's here, nobody's really here to judge, see, whatever. You don't need very many, and life continues. And my kids think it's hilarious that their friends have no, you can't do that. No, you mustn't do that. No, you don't do that. No. That doesn't happen here.
Wow.
And I have 2 pretty normal kids now.
So, what would you say your advice to others in handling general situations in life from the stuff that you've learned?
Do what works for you.
Okay.
As soon as you have children, you suddenly become the target for everybody's advice. Everybody will tell you how to bring up your children. And
it's very true. It's very true. In fact, it's not just actually when you have children. It's when you get married, and then you find out what marriage is actually like, or you're in a long-term committed relationship living with somebody and stuff, and you're thinking, why didn't they tell me about all of these things before? Why didn't they write a book? Why didn't somebody take me out for a drink and sit me down and say, these are the realities of life, mate, got to do this, got to know about that. And yeah, after you're married, everybody tells you. When you have kids as well, everybody comes to you for advice, and it's all across the spectrum.
Everybody tells you the advice and how to do it and what's the right things. And so one of my very good friends had rules after rules after rules after rules. And suddenly her children couldn't function unless there were rules. And it's like, that doesn't work. But it worked for her. It doesn't work for me.
Yep.
So my house has been full of visiting teenagers, especially, for years. They come here because actually they know it's all right. Mrs. GB won't tell us off. Mrs. GB will let us eat silly things, drink silly things. And as long as we don't wake her in the middle of the night, sleepovers at the GB household are all right. And they all see, but I don't have riots. I've never had any problems.
So
I think it's really simple. There are times for rules, but you don't need them, don't have them.
Very true. So you have rules. Essentially, the lesson that I'm taking at least is have appropriate rules for the environment or the situation.
Yes.
And also, if you need someone very relaxed to, hang out and chill for a couple of days or so, go to Mrs. GB's house.
Yeah. Different house.
Brilliant.
Perhaps not at the moment, but
yes, obviously in line with local legislation, legal requirements. Yes, wonderful.
Yes.
That's a really interesting story, and now I don't feel that my 3.5-year-old is is the stubbornest kid in the world, because he really is very, very stubborn, and he lives in his own world, and a massive amount of the time he gets really, really like uber focused. Brilliant. Wow, thank you so much for sharing that.
Yes.
Now,
Yeah. My
my
pleasure.
question to you now is, who would you like to come in the oops factor and share their oops factor story?
The most obvious ones you've already had.
Quite
So
possibly.
that's yes. The likes of Keith Watling and Chris Huntingford, etc.,
Yes.
etc. You've had those.
Yes.
But actually, let's go for people that someone whom Matt Weston.
He's come on.
He's been, hasn't he?
He's been.
That's no good. Have you had Peter Vinstra?
I have not.
He'd be a good one.
Brilliant. Peter, I will reach out. Hope you're watching this, because you'll at least be forewarned, and we'll do it. Wonderful. Well, Laura, once again, thank you so much for coming on the Oops Factor. Viewers, we hope that you've learned some very valuable lessons, both about life and about kids. If you already have, or if you're thinking of having, then just think about it very carefully. Feel free to check out the rest of the Oops Factor playlist, subscribe to the channel, check out the blog, and have a great day.